time for the Straight Up Wrestling Show.
What's up, everybody? It's HBT with the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I am here live, man. I am here live right now. Christopher Burton should be joining me here soon, guys, and we may have another guest. Hopefully, John Shooter Hargrove sees this and comes in and chimes in, guys. But right now, I am here by myself, and, hey, I'm going to talk about a few different things before we get into the nitty-gritty about what I'm talking about, man. I'm going to talk about is TKO and Endeavor hurting the biz and why indies need to work with each other to build real stars, man. I'm talking about real superstars, real superstars that the industry can pretty much ring in and bring in to the WWE, AEW. So we can have real superstars when they get there, man, instead of having people that's overhyped and everything and guys that might not even be ready when it boils down to it. So that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about when they get in here, man. But right now, I am in here by myself, and we're going to talk a little bit about wrestling. Hey, what's going on? Are you from Philly? No, I'm definitely not from Philly. I am from South Carolina, my brother. Definitely not from Philly. Sorting Cone. Is that Sorting Cone? I think Sorting Cone is in the house. Appreciate you coming in, but definitely not from Philly, my brother. But yeah, Christopher Burton, my podcast partner, he wish he was from Philly. That's his favorite team. His favorite football team is in Philly, the Philadelphia Eagles, and he loves the Philadelphia 76ers. Those are his favorite two sports teams right there. But yeah, I'm definitely not from Philly. I am from South Carolina, and here to talk a little bit about wrestling, man. I wish I would have watched TNA tonight, but I wish I would have watched NXT tonight. Didn't have a chance to, but maybe somebody will chime in and say what happened on that, but definitely don't know what happened on that. Now, we did watch, yesterday we did Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw was a okay show, guys, and, wasn't the most spectacular show that they've ever had, but it was an okay show. There's definitely something going on, and I think Triple H is trying a few different things. You can definitely see that already. They're not letting everybody come out with music like they've been doing, like they was doing in the past. So we see a few different things developing right there as far as WWE, because, man, like I said before, a couple of days ago on my podcast, man, when I did a podcast, I was saying that, hey, all the numbers are going backwards. They're not selling what they were selling. And TKO Holdings, I think they are pretty much looking at their bottom line, and it is what it is. So I think they are forced right now to try a few things different. Now, letting all these people go, I'm not sure about all that, because you let go of wrestlers that had value. And that's one thing that it does bother me a little bit. Sorry, but my throat is bothering me for some reason. I mean, it's allergies right now, but hopefully I'll get over that in just a little bit. Oh, wow. All right, did you hear about how the dumpster is having charges for aggravated? It's the dumpster. Wow, I knew it was some wrestler. Yeah, I did hear that. Sorting Cone, I did hear that about. I did hear something about that. I didn't really get into it because I was taking off today. When I heard about it, I was getting in the car and I was heading out to my eye appointment, and I didn't get to hear about every single thing. But that's something we'll talk about tonight. When Chris get on, I'm pretty sure Chris will know about it, and we'll look it up and we'll talk about that. But that is a sad situation. It really is. And the bad thing about it is we have a lot of that on the indies too. A lot of that stuff happens in the indies. I have no idea what about these wrestlers, man, and why they getting into that, why they doing things like that. Man, that kind of stuff has to stop. It's definitely a bad mark on the wrestling business, straight up. I mean, I know it happens in every walk of life. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It happens in every walk of life, but we definitely don't need that as far as in the wrestling business, because people, they look at certain things that we're doing and say, hey, those people over there, they support people like that. We definitely don't need that. Glenn T. White, my man Glenn is in the house. What's up, Glenn? Good to see you, man. Definitely good to see you. But like I said, guys, I am waiting for Christopher Burton to come in, and I need to hit John Shooter Hargrove up. He said he was coming on tonight. But right now, like I said, I am going solo. And, we're going to talk a little bit about this. But, yeah, I'm going to look that up in just a little while. And we definitely will talk about, the dumpster and that aggravated, I think, yes, they said assault on a child, a minor, or whatever. That's not good. All right, Mag says, greetings, Harry. What's going on, Mag? Good to see you, man. All right, let me see if I can hit this guy up, hit John Shooter Hargrove up, and see if he can come on with me. And Christopher Burton, like I said, he'll be on in just a little bit, but he's getting a bite to eat. He just got home. But yeah, let me go ahead and see if I can hit up John Shooter Hargrove and see if he's gonna come home. All right, but yeah, hopefully tonight we had a good, there was a good NXT. One thing about NXT, I am a little disappointed that they're not doing better numbers over on the CW. I thought they would do anywhere from 800,000 to 1 million every single week. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been keeping up with their ratings on what they've been doing, but I haven't heard anything, that they've been doing spectacular ratings. So I assume that the ratings are not that great. Guys, sorry about this. My voice is really messing up on me, but I appreciate you being here, rocking with the Straight Up Wrestling Show. All right, my man Lucas is in the house. Lucas says, hi, but I'm going to bed. Okay, Lucas. Okay. Yeah, it is close to your bedtime. Sorry about that, Lucas. I will have to get you a little bit later, buddy. Next time you on, we'll get you on here again. But Lucas, I appreciate you coming in, man, and rocking with the Straight Up Wrestling family, your family. All right. But we definitely appreciate that all the time, Lucas. But yeah, hopefully we'll see Christopher Burton in here soon. But yeah, if you are here with the Straight Up Wrestling family, you in here, Straight Up Wrestling Show, go ahead and hit that like, share, subscribe. If you here on YouTube, do the same thing over on Twitch that you do here on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, hit that like, share, join. And when you see us over on X, guys, formerly known as Twitter, hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet. But yeah, man, look, definitely right now, as far as wrestling go, I don't know what direction they're going in. I think they are pretty much everything right now discombobulated. And Triple H, he seemed not to really care, but I do think he cares, because we saw something totally different Monday night. We saw them look like they're going in a different direction. So he definitely cares. But he did put out that he didn't care. And, hey, you're not a real fan if you're not in the crowd yeeting and everything, man. So I'm just like, wow, that is just flat out crazy, man. But yeah. And hey, I would like to know what everybody think about John Cena. Hey, he just now passed the Nature Boy Ric Flair's title run, as far as how many times Ric Flair won the title, and John Cena, now he's won the title more than Ric Flair. Does that make him better than the Nature Boy Ric Flair? I wonder how many people actually think that makes him better than the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I cannot sit here and say he's better, but hey, big ups to John Cena, really, really and truly. And I think Cody Rhodes, we won't see him for a little while. I think he took a little bit of time off. Big ups to Cody Rhodes. He's taking some time off, and man, I guess I know he deserves it. He definitely deserves it. You talking about somebody who's fought wars in the ring up until this point? Cody Rhodes definitely done fought some wars in the ring. Could they book him a little bit better to where he can fight even more wars or better wars, better matchups? They definitely can do that. And I would love to see that straight up. Hopefully that'll be coming up. But yeah, once again, guys, like I said, I am waiting for Christopher Burton. Appreciate Magnum being in the house. I appreciate Lucas coming in the house, and I appreciate Sorting Cone being in the house with us too. Appreciate my man Glenn being in here with us. I appreciate everybody pretty much coming in and rocking with the Straight Up Wrestling show. But like I said, I am hoping to have Christopher Burton on here real soon, guys. Because like I said, I don't want to get into talking about what I have, what I have scheduled here and what I don't put up there on the front. I don't want to get into talking about that until Chris get in, because I don't want him to come into the middle and then I have to go back and repeat myself about what's going on, man. I wish I had a wrestling magazine or something like that beside me and I could talk about something. But hey, we can go and talk about something, back. Let's go talk about something let's talk about the Straight Up Wrestling Show. When we first started, we are coming up on our 4-year anniversary. June 21st, 2020. First is when we started. June 21st, 2021 is when we launched this channel, and we're going on our 4-year anniversary, guys, and we want to get those likes. We want to get those subscribers up, guys, 100%. But had a fun time, man. I won't forget our first podcast. We did that outside with a bunch of cars going by and everything. We talking about AEW and we're talking about WWE. At that time, AEW was popping really hard, man. They was doing a lot of work. Christopher Burton loved it, and my partner Michael King. They loved AEW. I didn't think too much of it, man. I really didn't. I thought they did a pretty good job as far as the way everything was structured. I did like that, but I was unimpressed with it the same that I am today, because the way I looked at it, I didn't see any storylines really being developed, storylines that you can carry over. And I said that will be a problem for them later on if they do not get that together. And until this day, they still really haven't got it together. All right, Lucas says, okay, thanks. But yeah, we had a real good podcast, man. We was doing that. We was doing things outside. Our second one was outside. And then we started doing a few things inside. And then we decided to come on and show our faces live, man. But I did enjoy those podcasts. We just used to just podcast anywhere. It was pretty cool, guys. It was pretty cool. And we had this guy named Michael King with us, but not bad at all, man. Not bad at all when we launched this channel. But yeah, it's totally different now. But yeah, we had some fun times, and at that time, man, you had the Young Bucks pretty much feuding with Penta and Ray Phoenix. Okay, you definitely had that going on. You had MJF coming to his own. MJF, he had a feud going on with Chris Jericho. I think it was the Walls of Jericho or whatever it was. MJF, he had to go through a certain. MJF said, was he sending Chris Jericho, I think, through a certain number of things, like nine certain things, to where, hey, if he wanted to face him, he had to go through those 9 certain things. It was pretty interesting. You had over in NXT, you had let's see, Ricky Guevara, who was pretty popular at that time. He was in Chris Jericho's group. You had a Private Party rocking with Matt Hardy. You had some interesting things, man. You had Miro, who was the TNT, I think, champion at that time. But you had some interesting things going on back then at that time. And, I was interested in what they was doing, watching them. Right at that time, Eddie, what was the name? Eddie, I can't think of his name. The guy, Eddie, he was pretty tough. You had some great things going on. And that was our first year having a podcast. But it definitely was some great things going on, man. I will give it that. At that time, you had the WWE champion on Raw was Bobby Lashley, and I thought Bobby Lashley was a spectacular champion. Chris didn't care too much about him because Chris really wasn't watching it at that time. Chris was rolling with some other guys on some podcasts that was hating on WWE. I thought it was a great time, and I thought Bobby Lashley was a great champion, and he was the champion on Raw. You had Charlotte Flair was the champion, the female champion on Raw, and she was excellent. She was excellent on that show too. I think both of them did a great job, and I love those two guys, man. Neither one of them working for WWE anymore. But I did like what in the world was their names? The black guy Dijak and his partner, the black guy. They wasn't called Dijak, and then they became the male models or whatever, and then they went to AEW, and became a tag team, there to further what he was doing. But you had Dijak and Dijak didn't go over to AEW. But you had Dijak and then you had this other dude. What in the world was his name? But man, they was incredible. They really was. I enjoyed watching those guys in WWE, and I think they could have really did something with those guys if they really put something behind them. And to me, that was they was like the new, as a tag team, they was like the new skyscrapers. You really could have used them that way, but Tony didn't. He definitely, not Tony, but Vince McMahon definitely didn't do it. They was building up. They was building them up, but I think people already had their minds made up about that tag team, and it just fell by the wayside, man. But they was getting better and better. And I did see some of the highlights before because I didn't watch them in 2020. 2020, I wasn't watching the WWE, and I saw highlights of those guys when they first brought them together. And man, it was a joke. It was a joke. So I can see why some people were still down on them and didn't really give them a chance. It's kind of funny, to tell you the truth. But I did like that tag team. Let's see what else was going on. As far as in AEW, Kenny, you had Kenny. What in the world is his name, man? You had Kenny Omega in AWA. He was the AWA world. No, he was the AEW. Why in the world I'm going AWA? I'm thinking about the American World Association. AWA, Vern Gagne's AWA. And I'm sorry, guys. With my voice like this, it's hard for me to really talk, really communicate, and get into what I really want to get into. But yeah, Kenny Omega was the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and he represented that. He represented that title big time, represented that hard. And man, I had so much respect for him. He was like, Kenny Omega was like Ric Flair, what Ric Flair was to the NWA and WCW when they was going against the Juggernaut, which was the WWF. So man, I had much respect for him at that time, man. Much respect. And I hated when he, got all those injuries and everything and couldn't do work, man. Couldn't do the work that he was accustomed to doing. I hated it. Really did. But I definitely can't get my voice right, guys. I hate this. And when I can't get my voice right, I can't get my words right. It's hard. It messes with me. I can't get my thoughts right either. So I'm hoping Chris comes on, John comes on, so I can talk to those guys and, pretty much, all right, here come the People's Podcaster. That way I can get things across. What's up?
What's up, man? What's going on, everybody? What's happening?
Man? Why in the world you ain't got the one that I got behind me, man? Goodness sake.
Oh, goddamn. I just picked one, boy.
Got the old one, man, back there. Dang. That's okay, man. But what's going on with you tonight?
Man, you know how it is, man. Same thing. Same thing.
All right, man. We got now. Let's see. We got Magnum in the house. Lucas was in the house. We got Sort and Cone in the house. We got Glenn T. White in the house. So, man, yeah, these are the people that's in the house, and I'm just basically randomly talking about, hey, when we first started and everything, and had Michael King with us and how we started. I'm talking about that because I really didn't want to get into what we have up here. What I put in the head, and I didn't want to get into that without you being on, man. But yeah, Magnum says, Chris.
TK, what's up, man? But TKO won the business, but they won in the business, but they took out Jim Crockett, but they ain't been right since. But
man, you tripping? They ain't take out no Jim Crockett. But yeah, we're gonna talk a little while. Not gonna talk forever because, like I said, I'm having a hard time communicating, man, with my voice being like this. Hopefully it clears up, but I doubt it's gonna clear up tonight. Probably a little bit later on. But man, Chris, is TKO Holdings and Endeavor hurting the biz, man? Hurting the business. And I really think they are. What's up, Black Rain 7920? The way I look at it, they are hurting the business. And I think 100% after watching WrestleMania and the things that led up to it, as they led up to WrestleMania and how they taking the titles and giving the wins to everybody that's very popular, it seemed like it doesn't matter. If you're popular, if you real popular at the time, they are going with the hot hand and they are giving them, they are giving the people with the hot hand the storylines, and they are giving them top billing straight up. And I think TKO Holdings and Endeavor, Aria Emanuel, who's running Endeavor, I think they have the hands I think they have their hands on not Tony Khan, but on Triple H. I don't think he's really in charge, man. I know he's doing a lot in the business, but they made him an executive, and he might be in charge. He might be the boss, but they are telling him what to do. They are telling him to go with the high hand because I don't see TKO holders or Endeavor. I know they don't know
it's a viewership grab, man. It's a viewership grab and a money grab. Like Jay Uso, man. If it was up to them, Jay Uso would have had the title when they first got announced. They were doing the World Heavyweight Champion title, man. If it was up to them, but he wasn't in a position to do it. But now he's in a position to do it, man. That joke gonna have that belt for a while, man.
Yeah, when he first started yeeting.
Yeah, I mean that joke. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. I'm just sick of that altogether. But anyway, man. I mean, but and now you got Pat McAfee getting a push, man. He gonna be an attraction because obviously this is like his third match ever in the ring and stuff. So he gonna be an attraction. So yeah, man, it's
same thing like Logan Paul,
Logan Paul, he's an attraction too, man. Yeah, I can't knock that. I can't say he ain't because he is.
But they are an attraction outside of the business when it boils down to it. I mean, of course, Pat McAfee been in it longer because of his announcing and everything. But they really, like I say, they sensations outside of the business, and I just don't. I don't think I'm not going to say it's going to hurt the business in the long run, but it's not looking good. It doesn't bring any legitimacy to the business when you have Pat McAfee taking on a Gunther and say if he gets in there and teaches Gunther a lesson or two, able to hang in there with Gunther because of his friend, the commentator, because of Michael Cole. He's in there, he's hanging with Gunther. Gunther's really not dogging him out.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I don't think he's going to beat Gunther, but, how's that going to look? Say of a few people, that, and I know there's people out here who really don't watch wrestling that will tune in every now and then, and people might have them tune in. You got to watch this Monster Gunther. You got to watch this Monster Gunther. And then he goes in and he wrestles this former football kicker. And
not even a linebacker or a lineman. He a kicker.
Yeah, a kicker, exactly. And he has a hard time beating this kicker. And this kicker give him a battle. And then these people, they sitting on the couch, and it's the first time. Because I can guarantee you, every single time that they have a pay-per-view or one of them premium live events, I guarantee you there's new eyes on the screen. There's new eyes watching it. Every time, even though they might be losing some regulars every now and then that say, I'm not going to watch, I guarantee you there's new eyes watching it. And they'll be like, hey, I thought you said this Gunther was a monster. Hey, man, he don't look too impressive to me. Hey,
you're right, man. You're right.
I know Pat McAfee. He works for ESPN. He used to be a kicker for the Colts. Whatever. Just like, hey. So what is this, man? And then Logan Paul, I know Logan Paul, he does, he has like 11 million subscribers. He do all kind of stuff on YouTube. I know him from that. And I know he gets in the boxing ring every now and then. But what in the world is he doing he's beating up AJ Styles, and so that's how new fans going to look at it. They'll be like, man, this stuff ain't legit. And
well, that's why they're going to watch Hogan. That's why they're going to watch
exactly.
Hogan.
So you got, like they said, man, you got to hold on to a little bit of kayfabe, even though people know it's not real. You gotta hang on to a little bit of kayfabe. You can't let all of that go, And when you put people in there from you put people out from outside of wrestling in here, and you let them hang in there and beat up legitimate wrestlers. Yeah, it's that stuff ain't copacetic. I'll be right back, Chris. Let me get some sore throat stuff from my throat. My wife wanted me to get some things. I'll be right back. Let's see.
Man, but yeah, so guys, man, but yeah, as far as like what's happening, man, it's just the business has changed, man. It's going in a whole nother direction where, and it just doing stuff outside the norm. You know, and like Harry said, you know, you got guys out here, you know, trying to build up certain characters or whatever the case may be, but you still trying to, you know, it's just I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to put a word on it, Chris. It really is. In TKO Holdings, and like I said, I don't say it over and over, guys. What a holding company is. You know, Chris works for a company that has that. You know that's run by a holding company. We know what holding companies are. Holding companies, they just their main mission is to put money on the bottom line for the shareholders and stockholders. And if we had stock in the company, we had shares in TKO Holdings. We really didn't know anything about wrestling. Shares in Endeavor, TKO Holdings. We're gonna want we want every dime we can make off of it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Oh, of course, man.
Yeah, I'm looking at that company like, hey, just make me my money. I don't care nothing about wrestling or whatever. They're not looking at it long term like us. We look at it long term, and we look at something. We look at wrestling personal. Personal. It's personal to us.
Yeah.
You know, to every wrestling fan that's really digged in, that's really dug in, it's personal to them. So you want to see your stars. You want to see them last. You want to see a Seth freaking Rollins, Seth freaking Rollins. He's not my favorite. But if you're a big time fan of Seth Rollins, you want Seth Rollins. You're looking at him long term. You want him to have a long career and be on top. You want to have, if you a fan of Aleister Black, you want him to have a long career on top. The same thing. You know, Roman Reigns, Scott Steiner, not Scott Steiner. Braun Breaker. Any of these guys. If you're a big fan of them, you want those guys to represent for a long time, man. And, even Paul Heyman, he has his fans and people love him and they want him to be invested in the business for a long time. So when you bring in somebody like TKO Holdings and Endeavor, who really don't have that type of brain for wrestling, they don't understand why we love Mankind. What is his real name now?
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley. Mick Foley. Cactus Jack. Why we love him? Why we in love with him for a long time, and we still fans of him. They don't understand that. They just understand what they see at the big arenas and what all the fans are doing. When somebody like Jey Uso go out there and he's yeeting, Tiffany Stratton goes out there and she's hitting her moonsaults and having these little cute little outfits on, and everybody just cheering for. That's what they see.
Doing Tiffany time and all that, yeah.
Exactly. They don't see that. Hey, Bianca Belair for the last 4 years have rocked the crowd. Has amazed the crowd. They don't see that. They don't see that Io Sky. Because they were about to have Io Sky lose to Rhea Ripley. They don't understand. For the last 2 to 3 years, her build and how fans done got 100% behind her. All they see is Rhea Ripley for the last year and a half. She was running Judgment Day and she was popular as I don't know what. And she has a chip on her.
But Harry, I really think Harry, you got the same thing happening over in WWE. You got in AEW.
Yes,
you got people to know the business, but they ain't necessarily stepping up. They might say a word here and there, but they ain't really stepping up. Whereas AEW ain't nobody saying nothing.
They're not.
Nobody saying nothing.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And it hurts the business.
At least at WWE, you might have a Michael P.S. Hayes. Like, hey, what about this? You might have who can I say? My man Shane Helms. Shane Helms was like, well, what about this? Or you can have somebody else. What about that? At least they giving their input.
Yeah, some of the wrestlers out here speaking up too.
Yeah,
not just the ones being released. It's wrestlers out here speaking up. I mean, look at LA Knight, man. Look, one thing I can say about LA Knight. I mean, LA Knight, he had to build up. He has to continue to rebuild his own momentum. He's got to continue to rebuild himself. And TKO Holdings and Endeavor, I think that's another way that he may be getting played when it boils down to it. because Triple H is probably saying, okay, this guy's over, man, and he's going to be helpful to the business. But I'm looking at TKO Holdings. They probably look at it every week and say, okay, is people getting behind him 100% when he says, LA Knight, and he's doing his little thing, because it don't get over every week. But that's because they have him win and they have him lose. They have him win, they have him lose. You cannot do that. You can't do that. This guy has to go on a winning streak and he has to win. And when he loses, it has to be a big shock to everyone. Everyone. He's a better wrestler than Jay. I'm sorry to say that, but he is. I mean,
he is, man. He is. I mean, can't lie about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Jay and that he made it to that point. I really am. But Jay Uso is a tag team specialist, and that's what he is. And I mean, that match was not that good last night.
Really and I know people hate it, man, but you gotta think, man. They be like, "Why are you putting him in a box? Why are you putting him in a box?" Well, I mean, gee, look at a lot of people. Look at us, like they don't know nothing about wrestlers. They just podcasters, and they put us in a box.
You're right. Exactly.
I mean, sometimes you just got to know where you fit in, and stuff like that, man. That's
true. Know, and I think a lot of people are fed up with it, man. And now they're just looking at it as like a paycheck. You got a lot of these wrestlers that's there, especially the veterans. They're looking at it as a paycheck, and I think a lot of it has to do with TKO Holdings and Endeavor. Not saying that people who never been involved in the business should get in the business, because I know now as far as the indies, I'm gonna speak on the indies. There's people in the indies that that me and Chris know that didn't want other people that from the outside of the business that never been in it being involved in the business.
Exactly.
So, even though me and Chris, we was fans for a long time, Chris had trained and done some work in the business as far as wrestling, but a lot of people didn't know that. Some of these guys didn't know that, but, they just looked at us as podcasters, and we've been between us, we got like 70 years. Well, actually, let's see, Chris been a wrestling fan for 41 years. I've been a wrestling fan for 50 years. So, we got 90-some years experience.
There you go.
Wrestling between us two. So we know a lot about the business, even though we're looking from the outside in, but man, we know a lot about the business and how things work and how things actually should look, as far as going out to people. But
it's funny too, because I mean, all you got to do, step back and study the trend.
Exactly.
Study the trend, man. I mean, you just got to watch because wrestling is like the ocean. It ebbs and it flows. Has its highs, has its lows. Just like in any business in general. I don't care if you're a shoe shine boy on the sidewalk. Some days going to be busier than other days. Some days you might have 50 customers. Some days you might have one or two. Some days you might not have none. Exactly. I mean, it's just going to happen. And you got to see the trend. I mean, it's just gonna happen, and you got to know how to work with the current, man. You got to go with the flow. Granted, everybody wants to be a rebel and try to swim upstream. Okay, but guess what? That only happens for 1% of the people that actually do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You
got to know your consumers. You got to know people that's invested in it. I mean, really invested in it. That's going to be there week in and week out. They want to, that's not your casual fans. And that's what I think Endeavor and TKO Holdings is pretty much coming in. They are looking at these fans, and they are looking at not actually casual fans. They are looking at things that's trendy, and that's what they're going with. They're going with the trendy things in this business. And that's who they are putting at the forefront. That's not the way to do it. You do want to capitalize on things when it's hot, but man, there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. You don't up and stick the top titles on people just because they're hot for a minute. Like me and you said before in the past, Chris, if the NWA would have did that, Jim Crockett would have did that, hey, the Mulkey brothers would have been the world champions 2 weeks after they won their first match, man. Multi-Mania was hot. You remember that? It was hotter than anything in the Carolinas.
Yeah, and they only won one match, man. That was just so crazy because, granted, they would have had maybe for about 3 weeks they would have had the belts, maybe. And
exactly.
I mean, but hey, they can say, hey, We were tag team champs for 3 weeks. That's as long as we.
People were going crazy over them, man. But you couldn't put the titles on them, man. I mean, because it wasn't going to be anything long term. But it was great while it lasted.
Exactly. I mean, because just going back and look at some of the old matches they wrestled against, but I was just like, them boys were getting folded up. I mean, come on, Harry, you expect it. Anybody that watch old school wrestling knows the Monkeys.
Yeah.
And if you don't go Google them. Google some of the matches if you don't know who we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Harry, will you expect the Monkeys to get folded like a piece of paper by Barbarian and the Road Warriors and Warlord and all them boys, you know, them and the Kiga and the Russians.
Yeah.
But Harry, when you getting folded by the Midnight Express, that's horrible.
Yes.
And I ain't even talking about the Sweet Stan. I'm talking about the Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton, the first Midnight Express. You getting folded up. Yeah. I'm like, you getting folded up by him?
Them boys were getting wrecked. They were getting wrecked. And then they beat Denny Brown and George Soft. You know, hey, sorry, George. I know you one of our, we know you and everything. You one of our homies here on the, out here on the Indies, man. But hey, George Soft, hey, them boys beat them. And then the next week, man, they wrestled against the next week, man, on TV. The Mokies wrestled. No, they was in the Crockett Cup. I think they wrestled Thunderfoot 1 and 2 at the Crockett Cup. People were going crazy out there in the crowd, man. They were going crazy. They were acting like it was the Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express. It was funny as all. I don't know what. I'm like, what in the world's going on? And the Mokies were looking good. They lost that match, but they were looking good, Chris. I'm like, what in the world's going on?
because they won that one match, man. Because they won that one match, everybody thought, okay, they might be able to make it to the second round.
Yeah, exactly. And man, not Jim Crockett, but man, Jim Cornette was pumping them up, man. He was pumping them guys up, man. It was like the greatest machine ever, man. Moki Mania ran wild. And speaking of Moki Mania, man, all prayers go out to, I think it's Randy Moki. I think he has cancer. So all prayers out to Randy Moki. Both of them still living, Bill and Randy. And they was active a couple years ago. Yeah, Randy, he got cancer, man. I found that out a few days ago.
Yeah, but I thought one of them was already dead, though. I thought it was just one of them alive.
No, I think both of them alive, man. I think both of them, at least Danny said both of them was alive. So, yeah, Bill and Randy still alive. If it's just one, it's Randy. But I think it's Randy. Yeah, Randy got cancer. So everybody pray for my man, Randy Moki. What's going on, Ray Underwood?
Ray, what's happening, man? What's happening? But yeah, man, but they, like I said, man, they want to basically maximize, TKO want to basically maximize the machine, which is the WWE, to get as much money that they possibly can. And that's obviously with the ticket prices.
Yeah.
And the merch. Because the merch don't went up, man. They got a it's like a baseball. Cody Rhodes. I looked online on his, just at some of his merch area.
Right.
Cody Rhodes got a cutoff sleeve. Matter of fact, this is a cutoff sleeve Cody Rhodes t-shirt right here. Dog, I paid $34 for this.
Wow, man.
Harry.
And you know what's going on, man?
And this before it really got crazy, because they got another one now. They got another one, and I've had this for a little while now. But they got another one. It's like a baseball style cutoff sleeve shirt like this one. Guess how much they want for that one, man?
42?
$64.99 plus shipping and handling.
Oh my gosh, man. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's outrageous, man. Outrageous.
His weight belts.
Yeah.
They want them things going 100 and something a clip. A weight belt.
And we know what they're doing, Chris. That some of their merchandise sales went down, but what they did was add a little bit more money to the other merchandise and say, because they know they're gonna sell it.
Oh yeah, wrestling
fans. It's not that wrestling fans. It's not that you being played for food. Wrestling fans, man, will pay the money. I mean,
because
I talk about,
because
certain things.
Harry, because you can bank on it right now, Harry. I'm already saving my pennies. When the Raw come, I gotta give me a shirt.
Yeah. I mean, I pay 14 for every month, man. Whatever that Pro Wrestling Illustrated, I pay
Yeah.
$14.95 or 16. I can't remember how much I pay for. Every time I go to Food Line, they have a new one. I buy it, even though I don't read them. I don't read them because we got so much wrestling. Come on, everything's online. I don't read them. I just buy it because I was a wrestling fan and I always
For
bought wrestling
nostalgia.
books.
For
Yeah,
the
exactly.
nostalgia.
I always bought wrestling magazines. So every time I see one, a Pro Wrestling Illustrated on the shelf, I'll go ahead and buy one, and that TV Guide just did one. I bought it, I forgot how much that was. That thing was high too. I bought it. But, each one of us, even though I don't buy the wrestling belts and certain things I don't buy, like I say, each and every one of us who are wrestling fans, there's something that we're going to buy, something that we're going to purchase. And WWE is going to get that money. They're going to get part of that money. So it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. It's wild, man. I mean, but and they know, like you said, they know, okay, these are dedicated fans.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They gonna bring their kids. They ain't never seen wrestling. They're like, oh, mom and daddy was crazy about this when at my age. Or your grandparents were crazy about it. And guess what? They gonna bring them to a show, and you get to meet George South, take a picture, and get an autograph. Guess how much that's gonna run you about $50-$60, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then they're gonna be nice and maybe cut you a deal. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's costing you $20-$30 at an indie show getting these pictures with these guys. Man. So it's just like, and some of them ain't even really popular. Popular in a small little tiny area. So it's kind of crazy. Tracy J, what's going on? Ticket prices too high. Makes no damn sense. You're exactly right. Tracy J, appreciate you coming in and rocking with us.
Yeah, Tracy. Yeah, welcome in.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, man. Because matter of fact, Harry, what did I say, man? Hold on. Let me. Since I get talking about ticket prices, man, hold on. Let me go. Just give you a rundown, man. I know y'all. I'm gonna give him a rundown of the ticket prices for Monday on the 19th when they come to town. And I know y'all probably don't know the layout of our arena. It ain't the world's biggest arena. It's a nice size arena. But ticket prices have gone immaculately crazy. Like, matter of fact, hold on, where is it at? Where is it at? I know I got it around here somewhere. I know, there it is right here. I've showed this to you a million times, man. This ticket right here. Let me see. This ticket right here. Yeah, there you go, right there. That ticket right there. That was for SmackDown back in 2018. August 4th, Tuesday. This one SmackDown was taped on Tuesday and was shown on Friday. I know some of y'all probably don't remember that.
I remember.
Used to tape it. I know you do, Harry. They used to tape SmackDown on Tuesday, and they would show it on Friday. So this was Tuesday, August 2018, and I was in section 103, row AA, seat 11, directly across from the cameras. Literally, like if I got up, I could hop the wall and be on the floor. I'm that close. You know what I'm talking about, Harry.
Yeah. We sit in that section a lot.
Yeah. Now let me go look in this section right now at today's date and see what they're running.
How much was it then?
For 2 tickets. Back then that ran me $65.
Okay, so for 2 tickets it would have been $130 back then.
In 2018. This ain't that long ago.
2018 would have been $130.
Okay. Now I'm gonna pull up this map here.
All right. Tracy J said was going to back last year in St. Louis, but I'd rather pay a utility bill. I don't blame you at all, brother. I'm so like I say, I think but Tracy, I don't blame you at all.
Okay.
For doing that.
Matter of fact, right now, section 103, row AA. Right now. And it ain't even, row AA. That's right next to the rail before you hit the floor. Section 103. Harry, guess how much that ticket costs right now? Just one ticket.
$90.
Oh, no.
$110?
Oh, no.
Oh man, it better not be more than that for one ticket.
One ticket in that section right now, the same row, $225.
Wow, man. Wow.
And we ain't talking 30,
One
40 years
ticket.
ago, neither. One ticket in that section on that row, $225. So you about to spend almost $500 for 2 tickets on that row.
You pay $65 for that
In
ticket in
2018.
2018.
Mm-hmm. That
Because
same row.
we were paying like 80 something. I think last time we was over there in that, we was in that section. We was actually closer, a little bit closer. We was at 101, something like that. So we was a little bit closer. And I think I paid $82 a piece. I bought both our tickets. I think I paid $164, and then taxes on that. And now it's $225 a ticket. That's $450, man, for 2 tickets.
I told you almost at $500.
God,
and like I said, this ain't like 1997, 96. This is 2018. When I got that ticket, same ticket for $65. Now that same ticket is $225.
Man, look, realistically, if you go back to wrestling when you and I was growing up, we was going to Greenville Auditorium.
Yeah.
Now ticket prices went up. I mean, I can even go back to the 70s when I was really little. Ticket prices went from like $5, and then 4 or 5 years later, they may be about $8 for kids. I mean, it went from $5 to like $8, then $12 for adults. They went up like $4 or $5. I mean, they went up like $1 every 2 years, $1.50, $1.50. Those tickets should be no more than $7 to $10, maybe $10 more than what you paid for it back in 2018. That was 7 years ago, basically.
We ain't even talking about 15 or 13 years ago.
Yeah, maybe 79. I can see $79, man. You know,
I would say at the max.
Yeah, $79, man.
80,
yeah. If you really want to go up and say, okay, it got a little expensive, $89, $90. Oh, these tickets are expensive now. But $225, man.
And I just looked it up right there on Ticketmaster, man.
Look, man. If you gonna sell tickets at that price, you better give me something spectacular, man. I mean, your wrestling better make the Attitude Era look like it is garbage, like it wasn't nothing. You better make the Four Horsemen era, and I'm talking about the Four Horsemen when Barry Windham was with him and Ole was with him. You better make that era look like it's nothing. If you want to charge people $450 for 2 tickets, you know, in the second level, come on, man. Wow.
And that's the level just above the floor. That's just above the floor.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Oh, and guess how much ringside going for? I just found one ticket in section 3. Like, you know how the wrestlers be talking they back to you and they facing the camera? And that section where you be looking at the wrestlers back and you ringside, guess what them going for?
Couple thousand?
Not quite.
1,400? 1,200?
Not quite.
Oh, wait, okay, row 3. Okay.
Yeah, well, section 3. But you ringside.
One ticket, it's got to be around between like 430, 480.
Try 6.
I was gonna say 6, but I thought I was gonna be crazy.
6.
God almighty, man. What in the world's going on, man?
I mean, but like I said, man, it's a trend. It's a money grab. It's all the above, man. I mean,
this is pitiful, man. Wrestling shouldn't have never got like this. It shouldn't have never gotten to this.
I mean,
and look, I've said this one time before. Wrestling at one time, wrestling could have really made. They really could have made it to where it was kind of like boxing as far as making money. But they failed on that. They should have taken advantage of that after Hulk Hogan did Hulk Hogan did the Rocky movie, and he was Thunder Lips, man. Wrestling could have taken big time advantage of that at that time. And a lot of people wouldn't have mind paying. You know, back then people was paying for a ringside seat. They were paying $12 to $18 for a ringside seat ticket. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, in the Omni in Atlanta, in Greenville, South Carolina, in Greensboro, North Carolina, Charlotte Coliseum. You know, they're paying $12 to $18. You know, maybe $22 even for the big shows. You know, for the closed circuit TV for Starcade when it first came out. They're paying between $20, $30, $40 for a front row seat ticket. But wrestling back then had the stars, man. They had stars who could have demanded a lot more money to see them perform. But now, I'm not saying, you know, WWE doesn't have stars. They got some stars. But one thing about it, TKO Holdings, and like I said, in Endeavor, they don't really know what stars are, man, when it comes to wrestling. Yeah. You can either have just stars or you can have superstars. You can have major superstars. Roman Reigns built himself up to be a major superstar. Now, Roman Reigns, I can see people paying a lot of money for Roman Reigns. You know, a lot of things could be justified. He built himself up like that. But you got to build guys up. You definitely can do that with Cody. You can do that with AJ Styles. You can do that with Gunther. You can do that with certain guys. But, man, you can't do it when you have them losing. That's all it is to it. These guys, it's got to be hard for these guys to lose. Jey Uso, I don't care what you do with him. He is not a major superstar, and he is not demanding a whole bunch of money. He doesn't, you know, you cannot rectify. You cannot, there's no flipping way that you can pretty much throw a $600 price tag in front of me and say, hey, it's worth it to come see Jey Uso and be out in that crowd and yeet.
And you know what's so crazy, man? That is a cheap seat at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That is a cheap seat at WrestleMania. And we talking about Raw.
At the Bon Secure Wellness Arena.
Now, Harry, if we were going to WrestleMania and we want to get some decent cheap seats and they ran about that at WrestleMania, that's justified all day long. That's justified all day long because it's WrestleMania. You expect that. You expect that. And you expect them to maximize their prices and everything and all that. You expect that.
Oh, yeah. Get the biggest bang for their buck.
Exactly.
And plus, they got to give us a great show. I mean, Triple H thought he was giving us the best show, but got backlash from it, man. Fans didn't like it.
And he also did say too, man. He's like, hey, it ain't always gonna hit. He's like, some things gonna work, some things ain't gonna work. It's just gonna happen. At least he was honest about it, though. At least he was honest about it.
Yeah, TKO Holdings did put out there, man. You know, hey, that they might start charging for some pay-per-views. You know, they said that a while back. Don't be shocked. TK, that was Endeavor said, yeah, we may do that in the future. Starts charging for pay-per-views again, instead of putting them all free on TV. That would be messed up. That would be messed up. But yeah, these guys, like I said, we see how many commercials they had Friday night for SmackDown.
And Monday too, man.
Monday too. Yeah, they upped the ante when it came to these just advertisement. So it's all about money with them, man. And I don't know if wrestling can actually survive that. I really don't at its current state.
Yeah, I just don't know. Yeah, I don't get it either, man. But
and maybe that's the reason why we didn't see a lot of music being played. Music probably was being played. We just didn't see it on TV.
Probably, man. Probably so, man.
But let me go and talk about the indies a little bit, guys. We talked about TKO and Endeavor and Triple H. Like I said, what's going on, Scott Larson? Scotty's in the house, my man. What's up, man? Scott Larson from #Truth, guys. Check out #Truth, guys, here on Facebook, YouTube, guys. Hit that like, share with #Truth. What did Scott say, Christopher?
Scott said, I feel Triple H can push anyone he pleased and squash who he wants to. If Triple H wants Jey Uso to be the face of the company, it will happen.
Well, he's letting him be the face of the company, but the deal is this, Scott, is that the best move long term? I know it's good for short term, and it looked that way. But let's be realistic, man. Hey, that was a time to put the belt on Ron Garvin. I remember that. Ron Garvin was hot with that knockout and everything, but it didn't last long. You know, hey, it was a time to put the belt on Diamond Dallas Page. You know, he was hot as I don't know what, but Diamond Dallas Page, when it boiled down to it, came down to 3 months, and you know, his popularity waned. It's just like, okay, you're not the most popular guy in the business, you know, and it showed. So, I mean, anybody, to me, you know, all the years that I've been watching wrestling, all the years that Chris been watching wrestling, and you too, Scott. I mean, we saw where we know why Hogan had the belt as long as he did, because the fans were just goo gaga over this guy. Even though Randy Savage got big, you know, they put the belt on Randy Savage, he still wasn't as popular as Hogan. You had to put it back on Hogan, and it looked more legit on him. You know, you put it on Ultimate Warrior. They tried to do the same thing with Warrior. It didn't work. It worked for a little while. You know, that's just the way it goes. But see, my thing is, I don't mind Jay winning the title. It's just the way I look at it is how long they gonna keep this belt on this guy because of the yeet thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at what expense did they do it? Because when you beat somebody for a title, you got to look at what did it take for you to do that, and how much did you have to hurt the guy that was previously the champ, who's a real champion? How much did you hurt him in the process of taking that belt off of him and putting it on this guy short term? Because hey, he's bringing in these yeets and people coming out here to see him, and you temporarily making a lot of money off of him. With Gunther, you know, when Gunther long term, you can make more money with Gunther than you can Jey Uso long term. You just can't. Gunther, man, you can have legendary feuds with Gunther for years with your talent. You really can. But they had him tap out, man. They had him tap out, and people are laughing. What if these fans that's laughing at him right now start looking at him soft, you know, that he's soft for a long time to come? Because hey, what was Pat McAfee saying? You know, Pat McAfee, called him soft Friday night.
That was ridiculous, boy.
So I'm like, man, you start getting that stuff in people's head, they're not gonna look at him like they was looking at him before, and you weaken a true superstar. That's one thing that you want to avoid. Is as much as, and like I said, I know what TKO Holdings is doing. I mean, if me and Chris was in charge of TKO Holdings, man, if they came to me and Chris right now and say, we want you guys running TKO Holdings. Here's our shareholders. Here's our stockholders. And, you know, these are the ones who's in the A class. These are the ones who got the B class, the gold cards, or whatever. We need you to put as much money on the bottom line as possible. Me and Chris, we're going to look at every area. We're going to look at wrestling, even though that we know what wrestling is. I'm going to say, Chris, Cody Rhodes right now is selling the most merchandise. So I'm going to put Cody Rhodes in the biggest light as I can. Yeah, Chris, it makes sense because we're gonna make as much money. Jey Uso, this yeet thing, we can't set. We hate it. Me and Chris, we're wrestling fans. We don't like it, but we know we're gonna sell a whole bunch of T-shirts this weekend when we are out in Omaha, Nebraska. We're gonna sell a lot of T-shirts out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're gonna sell a lot of T-shirts out here in Birmingham, Alabama. We're gonna sell a whole bunch of T-shirts out here in Knoxville tonight. Man, we're gonna make this dude look good, and we're gonna let him come out here. We're gonna let him yeet for a while. We're gonna, if the crowd look like it's dying down or whatever, we're gonna bring Sammy out there. Let him Sammy dance with him a little bit. Let him start yeeting some more, and we're gonna continue to put that T-shirt. We're gonna continue to flash up there saying 40% off right now, 25% off on the Yeet T-shirt. And even though that Yeet T-shirt might have been $75, we're gonna give 25% off, and that Yeet T-shirt gonna be $50. And we still, which it only costs $3 to make, we still making $47 off of it. Straight up, man. That's the way it works.
And they know fans gonna go for. I mean, come on, Harry. Like I was talking about the cereal, the frosted Yeets.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, the cereal, frosted Yeets. Harry, how many boxes you think they unsold of that already? Because you got to think it's a 2-pack now. A 2-pack for $19.99. How many boxes of that stuff you think they already unsold, man? I mean, just a rough guess, man. How many boxes of that stuff you think they
I
done
wouldn't be
sold?
surprised they sold over 200,000. Probably about. I wouldn't be surprised they done sold. Probably about 200. Probably about 230,000, 220,000. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. Do they got a number?
Cereal that ain't. No,
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
I don't think. I don't
I
think they
wouldn't
got
be
a number,
shocked.
but it ain't nothing but Frosted Flakes. But it's just his name, his face on it, and his likeness and his word, Yeet, Frosted Yeets. That's all it is, man. Oh,
Scott. What sold like hotcakes?
Bootios.
Oh,
Yes,
bootios. I thought he said I thought he said buttholes. Buttholes. But yeah, bootios sold like hotcakes too. And I guarantee if they sold 200,000, I guarantee they sold about 200,000 already. Mm-hmm. They done made $1 million off that cereal.
Easy. Because I mean, come on, man.
And when it's said and done, look, this Yeet thing to me is gonna go on for another 3-4 months. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna start waning, man. But you know,
and then what you gonna do?
Yeah, all they gonna do is put him back in with his brother. But yeah, they done made their money off of it. But long term, man, I think it hurts the wrestling business. That's just me. I think it's gonna hurt it because you hurt. You know it. You went for a short term success, but you did that, man. You went for short term success. You pretty much sacrificed for the short term success, and you sacrificed a guy who's going to give you long term success. You got to build Gunther back up. You got to build him back up. And who says that's not a guarantee? It's no certainty that Gunther can be built back up to the monster that we actually saw him as. That's no certain. We're not certain of that. So, I mean, it hurts the business. But yeah, let's talk about the indies a little bit, Chris. And you know what we're talking about here. It fluctuates. It rolls on down to the indies. Everything that they do in WWE, it goes to everything. AEW, TNA goes down to the indies. But indies, man. One thing about the indies, and we talked about this briefly yesterday, or was it the day before? The indies, man. These indies. Yeah, I know these indies. That these guys, they're all in it for themselves. As far as these indie promoters, most of them, you know, you may have a few that come together every now and then, but most of them are for themselves, guys. And they don't work with each other. They want to dog each other out and everything like that. And they might bring in your wrestler, the guy that works mostly with you. They'll bring him in, and he may come to your company. He's a big star, say a Chase Emery. And he goes over to, say, Chase Emery was at HWA, which that's the first place me and you saw him, Chris. He rolls from HWA. He goes over to, APW. You know, I'm just going to go APW. When Eagle used it because I'm not going to say EPW. But say he rolls over there and he loses. Okay? He's dominating everybody at HWA. We see him at Hills Pro Wrestling. He's dominating everybody. We see him at 3 Count. We see him at Battle Zone. He's a star. Then he goes to APW and he's losing. Okay? And he might be at APW. He's losing there at APW, and then he goes to Uprise, and he's losing at Uprise too. So, and everybody's at APW say, I heard about this Chase Emery guy. Everybody talking about he's so great. But he come up here, man, he done lost 3 weeks in a row. Then he goes down to Uprise. He done lost 2 weeks in a row. And then you roll him back to HWA. He loses his belt, and then he goes on a little small losing streak. He comes back up and he's winning again. He's beating Zuka King. He's beating, he's beating Ryan Mantis. He's beating people that's really good once again. And then he started losing again. That's that's the problem that I have as far as in the indies. You have a problem here. Like here in the Carolinas, I've seen too many guys like Chase Emery, Christopher Prince. I've seen Zuka King, Antonio Morgan. These guys are awesome for a little while here. They may be winning. Then they go over to another one that's 10 miles, 15 miles down the road. They lose. You know, you go 30 miles up the road here. They lose. Then they win again. They lose, and everybody talking about them. Everybody brags about them. Oh, these guys are superstars, man. These guys are great. You got to see them. And then you see them, and you're like, there's nothing spectacular about them. Because I tell you what, man, just like me and you used to bring Doug to all shows. Doug and I brought a couple other people to indie shows, and you have too. Your your family.
Yeah.
And you get out and you like, man, I love this Christopher Prince. Christopher Prince is awesome. And then he loses. And then, these new eyes and everything be like, he wasn't that good. These indies, man, that's why you need communication with these indie promoters, because back in the day, the regional territories, you didn't have somebody going from Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling going up to Georgia Championship Wrestling, going to Championship Wrestling from Florida, then swinging over there to Portland, Oregon. Roddy Piper came from Oregon, came down here. He was good in Mid-Atlantic. He went to Georgia, still a star. Went to Florida, he was still a star. These guys went to certain places. Mike Graham used to communicate with Jim Crockett. Jim Crockett communicated with Vince McMahon Sr. They went to places and they said, protect my stars. Protect my stars. That's not happening out here on the indies. You can have a guy that's really good. Kind of like Chase Emery. Last time I saw him, he losing over there at EPW to Ryan Mantis. And I asked the booker over there, man, I'm like, really, did you mean? Because me and it was other people in the crowd, we were stunned.
Yeah.
Me and Phillip Rollins, we were stunned. What's the name? What's the name's husband? Rhonda's husband. We were stunned. I went back there and asked the booker. I'm not gonna say his name.
You're talking about Squeaks, yeah.
Yeah. No, not Squeaks the Clown. No, what's the name? Chase Emery lost to. You talking to me, right?
Yeah.
Chase Emery lost to Ryan Mantis. And I'm like, was that supposed to happen? And the booker told me, yeah, that was supposed to happen. I was stunned. I'm like, and this was the second week that the person, the new people, took over down at EPW. And I was just in shock because Chase Emery is known as a star. You don't do that to people like that, man. You just don't. So I'm just like, wow, you have them either go out in a draw, a count out, or something like that, but you don't have guys like that lose, because it hurts them on the indie scene, on the indie circuit. I know they're not going to be, they're not going to be at your show every week. That they're not just wrestling for you.
Yeah, attraction. Yeah.
But to make them a legitimate star as far as the whole indies, my thing is this: I want to make the people that come and work for us, they come wrestle for us. Like if you come over and wrestle for the Straight Up Wrestling Show, PWF or CMW, and I know that you're a star, just like when Nick, when we had Nick Fury and Nick Fury and Antonio Morgan, when we had them wrestle in Lawrence last year, we had that as a time limit draw. Those guys fought it out all the way through. One of the best matches I've seen on the indie scene. But I was not going to let neither one of those guys look bad. Nick done wrestle for us how many times? About 3 or 4 times. Never going to make him look bad. He's always came out. I mean, he lost last time to Billy Starr, but that's Billy Starr down at SWA, and it was a great match, 100%. But I'm not going to make a guy who's a superstar in the area look bad. I'm not going to have him legitimately pinned, or if he's legitimately pinned, he's going to lose to a guy who's considered right on the same pedestal he is, or a little bit above him, where it's not going to hurt him. I'm not going to have him come in. And I know you want your guy to look good. Everybody wants their certain guy to look good or to go over. But, you got to protect people. If you want to see these guys make it to the next level, you got to protect them. You just do. All right, man, go ahead and get Scott.
All right, man. So Scott said, but that's indie wrestling. Not many gonna have the golden ticket at every company. But did the match meet the hype? Win, lose, you can still get over.
But see, that's I have no problem if it meets the hype, Scott. But that's the whole thing about it. Too many times it does not. A lot of times these guys go up and lose. I've seen Christopher Prince lose a few different times when he shouldn't have lost. Okay, I'm use Chris. Chris is man. I know Chris love it, but I've seen where Christopher Prince didn't go over. He should have went over, and the match was not what it should have been. Me and Chris, we look at each other at some of these matches, man. We look at each other and be like, "What in the world?" Because they have made somebody who's known out here in certain areas that he's known as a star, great wrestler. They done made him look like he's weak. Don Furio, I'll take him for example. I've seen where his matches look mediocre and he didn't look good at all in them. And I've seen matches where he looked like a superstar in them. You know, Drew Alder, I remember watching him and, you know, he looked great in most of his matches, looked like a chump in some of his matches. But, you know, I've seen that happen with the Chris Thunder Anderson, man. Chris Thunder Anderson, when we first started this thing, me and Chris pumping him up, Chris Thunder Anderson was just smashing people. The next thing you know, Chris Thunder Anderson started losing, man. And I'm just like, hey, this don't look legit at all. It just didn't. Some things just don't make sense. And you had guys who would, and I remember, I'm not going to call out the company that Chris Thunder Anderson went and started working for, but it was around here. And this guy just told Chris that he was going to lose, and Chris was losing to guys like Dirty Joe, you know, people that had no business beating him.
Yeah.
And that right there is like, okay. And I'm saying with these to these indie wrestlers, you are putting your fate in the hands of some guy who will sit here and say he's the greatest promoter in the world or act like he's the greatest promoter in the world. Because Scott, like I say, ain't gonna, you know, call out no names or whatever. But when we first came in this, man, you had promoters out here, man. I thought the world of it. I ain't gonna sit here and say I don't think the world. I still think the world of some of them, man. But the way that they was coming off, the way they came off to us, like, man, they was just. Man, hey, we know this wrestling business, and we are the shiznit out here. Mm-hmm. And then you go to their shows, they drawing 50 people, man. You know, but like I say, that doesn't matter to me how many people you draw and everything. Is when I see you bring in top-notch people and they lose to people they have no business losing to. You know, I'm like, wow, you don't put your hands in this man's hands. You know, I was just like, I guess maybe because I came from a boxing background and the promoters in boxing, your guys, your promoters, your management team and everything, they protected you. If you ever watch the Rocky movie, you can see that. You protect your fighter. You know, if you follow boxing, you do everything you can to protect your fighter. You don't put them in the top-notch matchups until you get them to that matchup. You do everything you can to bounce around the hardest contenders till you get to that number one contender. So you can make the most money. You can maximize the talent that person have or maximize.
He gave them bombs. Hey, he gave them bombs.
Heck yeah. It's not that all the time that you give them bombs, but you give them solid opponents. But I'm just saying, you cannot have somebody. I've seen guys, me and Chris have been out here long enough, especially when we was rolling with Danny, who's out here long enough to where I saw guys that when we first started watching them, they was hot. And then I saw them going to a 500 streak. As many times as I saw them guys get in the ring, they went to a 500 streak. And I'm like, man. And some of them just became plain out losers, man. They just started losing, boy. They was winning. Great tag team that of course, what's the name was a great tag team. They probably the second best I've seen. That was Cruiser and Thunder Anderson. But Squeaks and Damian Priest was a great tag team I first seen. Great tag team. Then next thing you know, they broke up or whatever. I mean, he lost a match, they broke up, and next thing you know, Squeaks, before he got into Michael King's King Enterprises, he was losing there for a while. Damian Priest started losing. I'm like, man, what in the world's going on here? I'm just saying, you know, as far as these indie guys, man, they have got to be very careful. Everybody out here on the indie scene, be very careful, because if you want to make it to the next level, you got to make yourself look good wherever you went. And I remember the last time me and you talked to Lucky Ali, Chris. Lucky Ali and Greer at that, you know, at the Spinning Jenny. At the Turbo show at the Spinning Jenny. And Lucky Ali, and I was talking to him, I said, I thought he had lost the match. And Lucky Ali was like, no, I ain't lose a match. He said, I haven't lost in like 2 years. And I had got him mixed up. I remember after that, I got him mixed up with a certain wrestler. But Lucky Ali, you know, he was talking to me and Chris and everything. He said, no, man, I haven't lost in like 2 years. Lucky Ali was going around and he was making sure that he did not lose. Or he was telling them, no, I'm not going to lose. And he did. He made it up to NXT, even though he got injured or whatever. And then, you know, I don't know what's going on with him now. But, man.
He in a faction, man. He in a faction, man.
Oh, he is good.
He in a faction called, he in a faction called, was it Dark Night or Dark Day or Bad Day or something?
Right, because me and you, we have a guy for PWF that went down to Georgia, and he went down there and lost a couple matches he shouldn't have lost or whatever. And I had John Shooter Hargrove talk to me and everything. He wanted to make sure this last time that he didn't go down there and get caught up in some bull. And I called the promoter and I said, "No, man, make sure that don't happen." And they said, "Okay, Harry, we got you." But man, these, you got to protect your guys. You just do. And you can work for me and Chris. We're gonna make sure you protect it. All right, go ahead and get Mike Classic, man.
All right, man. Mike Classic said Cena can't win wrestling. Vince set them all up. He hated wrestling.
I can't say Vince hated wrestling. Well, he hated the word wrestling. I'm not going to say he really hated wrestling. I just think he did not want to have a stigma. He didn't want to have the stigma of wrestling on his name. He did not want that complete stigma. He wanted to be entertainment. And because like I say, he had already had in his mind that he wanted to do other things in the entertainment business. I mean, he was serious about what he was doing. He might have not known exactly what he was doing. He got into that bodybuilding thing. He was serious about it, 100%. He got into football. He was serious about it. He wanted to do other things, venture into other things. He ventured into movies and all that. He wanted to be an entertainment company. That's what Vince wanted to do. It's not that he necessarily hated wrestling. He just wanted it to be bigger than wrestling. Vince looked at wrestling as and I really think he's seen it this way, even though he came up and, he was an announcer for his dad. He saw 20,000 seats being filled at Madison Square Garden and everything like that. Bruno was selling it out all the time. Bob Backlund was selling. He saw that, but he saw too many. He saw wrestling all over the country. Probably a lot of parts of the world because he traveled with his dad. He came down. Jim Crockett ran a lot of different arena shows and everything that might have had 2,000 people in it. Sometimes they ran a lot of high schools down here. They had 500 people in it. So he's seen wrestling from every little speck, every little place. He's seen it. He's seen it and I do believe he's seen it in bar rooms and things like that. But he know there was a lot of big shows. There was a lot of big shows as he was growing up. But Vince, everything he thought big, everything he wanted to do was big. You remember that thing, Chris, 15, 20 years ago when it came out, when everybody was saying, when I do something, I do it big. Vince, everything Vince did was big, on TV, big, arenas, big. Vince wanted to do it big. So that was Vince. I don't think he necessarily was trying to ruin wrestling. It just caught up with him after WCW went down, and he realized, and I think he realized that, hey, competition is good. Competition keeps you on your feet. Without competition, it was all on him. And he had too much on him, and it pretty much eventually caught up with it.
Yeah. All right. Mike Classic also says he took his money and said, "Here, Stephen Paul, knock yourself out. TKO."
Yeah.
Scott. Well, it wasn't that easy, though, but he got caught up in some stuff.
Yeah, he did. Big time.
I don't know how the story go. Scott Larson said sometimes a booker will use a legit indie star to lose to the guy they are pushing to raise him up. This is true.
They do. That, and look, I can understand that. I really can't understand that. But, just me personally, because look, we used to see, Jim Crockett Promotions, man, I used to see it all the time. Georgia Championship Wrestling, where you have a star come from Florida. Say Dusty Rhodes will come from Florida. He will be, and Dusty Rhodes will have to take on Black Jack Mulligan. He will have to, and Black Jack Mulligan was huge. He was beating everybody. He will have to take on John Studd. Dusty Rhodes will come in and there'll be a time limit draw, some kind of disqualification or whatever, or sometimes he beat the star. But they never did make him look bad. You will have people like Mr. Wrestling 2 come in or Tommy Rich coming in. They didn't. Jim Crockett didn't go out of his way to make his stars beat those guys. And the same thing, those guys used to go up to Georgia or go to Florida. And I remember, they go up there and Sir Oliver Humperdinck's army, you would have them send, Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood to take on Sir Oliver Humperdinck's army when he had Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr. Dory Funk and Terry Funk didn't really beat them, but they didn't go in and embarrass, Dory and Terry. Exactly. It was like a gentleman's agreement. Don't make my guys look bad. even if your guys win, you make sure my guys look like hell and that you are inviting them back for a return. Like, okay, they lost to my star. They lost to that indie star, the indie star that's at that federation, but the match was so close or whatever, it pumped up their fans to even look at them. And you say, okay, they invited back. You could go up there as the announcer or the owner or whatever and say, we have a return match, whenever these other guys can be booked there, we have a return match the next time. But you make these guys look like the star that everybody at that other in that other area is saying they are, in that other region saying they are. Definitely keep their, you definitely want to keep their notoriety up, man. You just do.
Oh yeah, definitely, man, definitely. Yeah, man. So Scott Lawson says dump truck, not Damian Priest. He laughing at
Yeah,
you.
I hear you, dump truck, not Damian Priest. All right. Oh,
Mike
man,
Plessy,
dump truck.
Yeah. And I got some words for dump truck, man, because he but anyway, that's the whole nother story.
Oh man, I gotta hear about it. I don't know nothing about this, man. All right.
Yeah. It's got something to do with your boy Riker, man. It's got something to do with your boy Riker.
Okay. All right.
It's got something to do with that. It got something to do with that guy.
Yeah, because they got a little faction going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mike Clay says, "Great analysis, Harry. That was exactly what I meant."
Oh yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt.
And Mike Clay said, "I'm sorry. Salutations, guys. I'm your fourth like. Thank you, family, for joining the Straight Up Wrestling Show. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe." Thank you, Mike Classic, for that, man. We appreciate that, man.
All right. That's all really I got to say on the indies right there. It's just, that's something more that me and Chris are going to talk about a little bit later on, and maybe get John Shooter Hargrove from PWF on here, and probably bring a couple other guys in here, man. But yeah, it's just, as far as these indies, I just wish these promoters would get together, man, and just start talking with each other and say, hey, look, man, we got Chase Emery, we got Zuka King, we got Ken Magnum, we got the Outlaw Randy Wayne, we got so many guys in this area, we got Christopher Prince, that's known as big time guys. We got to make sure that they look good everywhere that they go. And Austin Bebop, another one. We got to make sure these guys look good everywhere they go and not bring them down. We got to keep their level up. We got to make sure that they're leveled up, that they stay straight up. So, hey, when margin calls, when the big time calls, hey, everybody know, everybody in the whole region, everybody through the Carolinas, the upstate South Carolina, upstate North Carolina, down to the low country, everybody know that they're great. So that word gets out to WWE. That word gets out to AEW. Hey, you got to look at this guy, man. Not that, they just go to one little spot and then, everybody say this person good or whatever. Oh, you need to, this is because this guy's all favor. But, if you got a Nick Khan who can dominate all throughout the region, man, let that be. And let that guy do his thing, man. Not saying that he comes and kill off your top guy, but he comes and look great, look outstanding against your top guy. Kind of like, what's the name? Or what's the guy, man? The duck guy, the ugly duckling guy.
Jesus. If you ain't said it, let me tell you.
I can't even think of his name. But he protected himself, man. Wherever he went, he was winning out here on the indies. He protected himself. Great job, man. Great job. I tell these promoters, I'm not coming in. And the deal, the whole thing about it is, they shouldn't even have to say that. When you're a star like that, shouldn't even have to say it, man. Good luck with that. Been trying for almost 7 years. I understand, Scott. I understand. Hey, man, I know I'm talking to the choir. When it comes to you, man, I'm preaching to the choir, man. You know. But, it has to be said. And, people like us, me, you, and Chris, and Ron Emerson, and Peaches and Power Bombs, especially like say me, you, Chris, and Ron Emerson, the ones that go to these indie shows and things like that. We the ones who should be preaching it out and saying, hey, look, man, this don't make sense. This is what you got to do. And even though you have these guys, no, they ain't what I want to do. They want to do their own thing. And I understand that. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I'm the best. You know, I'm the best out here at doing this and putting together these matches. Me and Chris, you know, we know what we're doing. I'm not saying these guys don't know what they're doing, but I know what they're doing. You taking somebody and you're favoring somebody because hey, they work for your company and you have a personal liking to them, and you want to bring in this person and have your guy beat them. But I tell you what, I wouldn't. You know, I'm not gonna do that. That's not one thing I'm not gonna do. I don't care even if the guy's the champion, our champion. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna make him, you know, hey, if one of these top guys decide, hey, yeah, I'll come on over there and I'll work for PWF, I'll work for the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I'm not gonna take that guy and have him lose to some guy. You know, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're gonna lose to Max Savage, you're gonna lose this match, or you're gonna lose to Brian Bullock because hey, this our boy. You're gonna lose to Nick Fury because this our boy. I'm not gonna do that when you're a superstar out here. I'm not gonna take advantage of you and just and basically have you beaten just because you coming over and you wrestling with us and all that. You decided to, you know, take that book and take that money. I'm gonna protect you. That's just me. That's just how I came up, man. Is guys was protected. You back in the day, you wouldn't have had people like Ric Flair. You wouldn't have had Harley Race coming over to the Mid-Atlantic Championship area as many times as he did if they decided, hey, we're not going to protect you. Jim Crockett come say, hey, you coming over, you taking on my man number one Paul Jones, and you're going to lose to number one Paul Jones. You might not lose that title, but you're going to lose that. You're going to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Scott Larson said, "Preach it, sir."
Thank you, Scott.
And Mike Class said, "I'll work back. I work backlash tomorrow, Thursday through Thursday. The show we set up chairs around ringside. WWE has its trucks here. Thursday, I'll provide as much footage as I can. Backstage, I usually kick it with the Usos."
All right, yeah, send it to us, Mike Class. I appreciate it.
Mike. Yeah,
send it, Mike. Yeah, because you used to send that stuff to us all the time. But yeah, definitely send it to us, man, and we'll post some things on our page and everything. So definitely we'll appreciate that, Mike, 100%. But man, yeah, that's basically it, man. I am out of here. I'm pretty much done. Appreciate my man.
Then got his ran out.
Heck yeah, appreciate my man Scott Larson coming in, my man Mike Classic coming in. Appreciate Magnum coming through tonight. Appreciate Lucas coming through tonight. Let's see. And before y'all leave, man, go ahead and check out Scott Larson's hashtag Truth. Go over there and hit that like, share, join with my man Scott Larson. Appreciate Tracy coming on. Let's see. Who else? Tracy J came on. Lucas, like I said, Lucas came on. Of course, Mag came through. Who else, Chris, that we got? We got a couple other people, man. I can't.
We had Mike Classic, man. We had
Snorting Cone come through. Appreciate that. Appreciate him. And
appreciate
Glenn T. White. Yeah, and Glenn T. White. Yeah, but we appreciate everybody who came through rocking with us tonight. But Chris and myself, we are going to get off and we will see you guys a little bit later. Stay straight up. Peace.